Welcome to Universe Live. It's Wednesday, November 9th, and here are your top 5 stories for today. The question of which party will control Congress remains unclear after Election Day. Despite some key victories for the Democrats, Republicans still have a window to control the House. The nation is still waiting on final results for critical Senate seats in Georgia, Wisconsin, Nevada, and Arizona. Mike Lee has been re-elected to the U.S. Senate. The Republican candidate had 55.4% of the vote. Independent Evan McMullin took 41%. And we have the preliminary results for U.S. representatives in Utah. Representatives John Curtis and Burgess Owens kept their seats in Districts 3 and 4. Blake Moore in District 1 and Chris Stewart in 2 both won with a large majority of more than 60%. Orem residents voted no on Proposition 2. Proposition 2 would have made Orem its own school district. 71% of voters said no to Prop 2 and 28% said yes. Utahns have rejected Utah Constitutional Amendment A. The amendment would have increased how much money the legislature can use during special sessions. About 63% of Utahns voted against the amendment. Midterm elections are over and Utah's preliminary results have been called. Abby Gunderson is here with a closer look at the midterms in Utah. Abby, what was Election Day like?
The whole country has been paying attention to national Senate races and congressional races, but Utah has especially garnered some attention lately with an independent candidate vying for a seat in a deeply conservative state. Even with so much hype leading up to yesterday's midterms, Utah County saw a much lower voter turnout than the 2020 presidential election and even the 2018 midterms. In Utah County, only 42% of voters turned out for the election, a drastic decrease from the last midterms where around 68% of voters cast ballots. BYU student Savannah Perkins says she sees less and less of her peers heading to the polls.
Honestly, I see more people just not voting, and I've been tempted to do the same too.
Even with lower voter turnout, there may be some hope for the rising generation of voters. BYU student Benjamin New says this is the first election he's followed closely, and that Utah's competitive Senate race especially drew his interest.
It's kind of the first time I've really been excited to participate, I guess.
For local elections, Representatives Burgess Owens and John Curtis kept their seats for Districts 3 and 4. And in fact, based on preliminary results, all the incumbents for Utah's 4 congressional districts won re-election by significant margins. In Utah County, Orem School District, Proposition 2 did not pass the test. 71% voted against the proposition to split from Alpine School District. Another measure on yesterday's ballot, Utah Constitutional Amendment A, also did not make it. 62% voted against it, which would have given the state legislature power to appropriate more money, up to 5% of last year's budget, in a special session. Nationally, Mike Lee secures his 3rd term in the Senate, defeating independent opponent Evan McMullin. While Lee won by about 14%, not as wide a margin as the congressional races, Utah is still a red state through and through. We're still waiting to see what the balance of power will be in the House and the Senate, and with mail-in ballots, those races should be called in the next few days. In the Senate, it's currently at 48 Republican seats and 48 Democrats, so it's anyone's race. Back to you, Emma.
Thanks, Abby.
Happy Wednesday, everyone. Chilly winds are making their way across Utah as the winter season really begins to pick up steam. Heavy snowfall and below freezing temperatures continue to settle in the higher mountains, while winds sweeping across lower elevations continue to blow. So now is the time to begin packing warm for all your weekend activities and your upcoming holiday plans. Or maybe it's time to just cozy up and stay indoors. But either way, winter and the cold has come early, and it looks like they're both here to stay. And stay they will for at least the next few days. You'll notice as time passes into the evening and morning hours for the next few days, things get really cold across the entire state. Temperatures easily dropping beneath freezing and into the 20s, some places even going down as to the mid-teens. If we were to take a look at the statewide forecast for today, though, you'll be noticing that nowhere in the entire state is there a low that's greater than 20, except down in St. George, where the low is around 33, but everywhere else easily dipping beneath freezing, with highs along the Wasatch Fronts around the mid-30s and higher 30s. It's pretty chilly. Still, down in St. George, there's some reprieve, or down in southern Utah, there's some reprieve, excuse me. It is pretty much clear for the rest of the week, still pulling lows easily beneath 32 degrees, 28 at its lowest tomorrow. Up in northern Utah, not much more merciful. There's a chance of snow today with partial cloudiness going back and forth between that and the sun for the rest of the week, still pulling lows around the mid-20s. So as we can tell, things are starting to get consistently cold, so be certain to stay warm this week, folks. Back to you, Emma.
Thanks for joining us today for Universe Live. Have a great day.